individuals are more empowered to contribute significantly to organizations and communities when they know their strengths. So this led her to her current journey. She is motivated by the transformative nature of strength coaching, enable engagement and happiness at work and beyond. So here to discuss how you can spot people's strengths and help them sparkle, please welcome Rupa Sivanoli.
Hi, everyone. So, Eva, thank you so much for the introduction. And thank you to the folks at Budaya for giving me this opportunity to talk about what truly is my passion, which is strengths-based development. So welcome and thanks to all of you as well for taking your time off this afternoon in order to join me for this webinar. Okay, let's get into the topic a little bit more. So why we've chosen the topic about spot people's strengths and help them sparkle is mainly because we've got a lot of people in the workplace today who aren't quite sparkling. And when I use the word sparkle, I don't mean they're walking around as happy humans, blissfully unaware of some of the real world challenges that they have to deliver on. But I'm using this word to talk about the employee experience. What does it take for us as HR leaders, people developers to really unlock people potential? I'd like to share with you some of the things I want to talk about. So we'll cover employee experience versus employee engagement, some of the key similarities or differences. And then I'll also help you kind of work through what are strengths. It's not just biceps flexing or things like that. There's more to it. What are strengths and how do we look at the returns if we invest on strengths? And also how to be a strengths spotter. I want to leave you with some practical tips that you can use in order to be a strength spotter. So let's go into it. Okay, so the workplace today is changing. Yeah, we have a lot of new and emerging trends and new employees coming into the workplace. People born in the year 2000, which was for me just, a hop and a wink away, are now employees in the workplace. So for us as leaders, there's definitely a big shift from how we used to engage with people to how we are now expected to engage with our teams or with people. Yeah, in the past, things like my paycheck, my satisfaction, my boss, because we give a lot of reverence to boss. Annual reviews are real milestones in the calendar, and HR always chases after us to hurry up and finish your documents for annual review by a certain time so that we can collect all the results and pay bonus, that sort of thing. And when we do performance reviews, it's always looking at what are the gaps, what are the weaknesses, and then plugging it onto training or development opportunities. And really conversations were about the job. Fast forward to today, a big shift. So young people are entering the workplace and wanting to engage with their bosses, with the leaders to identify what is the purpose of the organization. Therefore, how is it aligned to my purpose? So it's a lot to do with the sense of identity, how they give back, who they are. These are some of the questions that are coming up. And then consequent to that will be things like, what is my development plan? Who's going to guide or coach me? I don't need a boss because knowledge is something Google or Alexa or Siri will tell me. I need a coach to give me real world feedback as I am progressing on my journey. So I don't need once a year conversations. I need ongoing conversations to really help me understand how I'm doing. So when I talk to my boss, I want to know, what do you think, boss or manager? What are my strengths? And then if there's silence, crickets chirping because manager can't quite find the words to describe each individual strengths, it puts the manager on the spot. So conversations in the workplace today are a lot wider and a lot deeper. And therefore, we as leaders also need to up our game and develop certain capabilities to satisfy these ever-growing expectations. Now, why does this expectations matter? If we look at employees, it's no more the old world model whereby employees are on a contract, they're given a salary, so they're meant to do their work. Now employees are advocates of a brand, of an organization, right? So it's really important to look at employees as consumers in the workplace. So they are buying into an experience. And if they buy into it and they enjoy their experience as an employee, that stands well for your employer brand. But if they don't, then you'll have all these viral videos going around about how bosses are scolding staff, or, secret recordings, screenshots of conversations with bosses going into the other WhatsApp group that the boss is not in. So all these things start to happen when you really don't have that right amount of engagement in the workplace. And if you don't take care of employee experience and that whole journey, there are studies that show that it is one of the main reasons why good talent leaves us. And it also shows us things like only 2 in 10 employees will strongly agree that performance in an organization is managed well in a way to motivate others. The rest are probably saying it's probably a flat experience, or if at all, it may even be a negative experience that doesn't motivate them. And only about 12% of employees agree that the company does a great job in terms of onboarding the first few months in an organization. So if you have these kind of statistics, clearly there's room for improvement. Oh, by the way, just to sort of acknowledge that anytime you hear me quoting statistics or data, I am drawing from the extensive pool of research of the folks at Gallup Analytics. So these are international statistics looking at overall workplace health. So if these are the kind of results we're getting back, clearly there's room for us to do more. So let's examine that whole employee experience journey. So if employee is the customer, we've got to look at that journey and see what parts of the journey we're doing well and what parts needs fixing. So I'm going to ask you to answer a poll question, but not yet. I want to just sort of explain each of these areas so that we're all on the same page. Along the way, if you have any questions or you have any areas you want further clarification, just type it in the chat, because at the end of this sharing, I'm going to have some time to throw around some ideas with you and hear you out. So I'll be happy for you to light up the chat with some questions or observations. Even if something resonates with you, go ahead and put it in, yeah? So we look at the whole pipeline of employee journey. It starts with attract. So obviously you need to find the right talent. You have to have the good amount of messaging so that people know you exist. In Malaysia especially, there's some amazing startup and scale-up companies out there doing incredible work in the space of innovation, but they can't seem to attract top talent because nobody knows they exist. So that's one of the things that we also need to consider about, do people know we exist? If your name, employer brand is Googled, beyond just the story of the organization, who we are, what we do, are there any interesting human stories behind it? So those are some of the things you need to consider so that people are drawn to you. Just recently on LinkedIn, I saw a really nice photograph with a laptop, but the backdrop is the beachside in Penang. So one of the HR employees there was saying, how would you like to work in a place like this? And it had a lot of traction on LinkedIn because people saw that and thought, yeah, I don't want the view I have now. I would love to have a beachside view. So again, those are all interesting ideas to attract people. Then once you attract, you bring them in, you have to be able to pick the right people. A lot of times, seasoned managers, I hear this from a lot of seasoned, I have a gut feel about the candidate. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is not going to turn out well. You have to use science and tested methods in order to hire. Yeah, so behavioral based or competency based interview techniques to really pull out the past performance of the person, because that's a predictor of future performance. Then we go to onboarding, which is bringing people in and having them align. That means, okay, what I thought this company was is what it is, and I'm happy to stay. So a lot of socialization to the values, to the team members, those kind of elements happen during onboarding. And once that's set, we go into engage, which is the middle part of that whole employee journey, which is looking at now building that person with their strengths and linking what they do with a sense of purpose. So once the engagement or that motivation is opened up, you want to let them fly. You want to drive expectations and ensure that they perform. This is when clarifying conversations, about what is a KPI, what is extra mile performance, showing them role models. These are some of the things that you can do. And then finally develop, because there are areas that may need some adjustment. So you will give them some interventions, rotations, training, shadowing, so that they can grow. And obviously, if things don't fit, the person wants to move on. Also, another positive exit experience is required, because they will always remain your advocates and not your adversaries if you do the whole employee experience journey correctly. So let me ask, for those of you who are here with me this afternoon and you've had some experience with any of these touch points. So the question was, until Eva can put it up, in this whole journey of employee engagement, which is the most problematic area? You could type it in the chat, guys. So which is it? Attract for you, yeah? For you, is it attract, hire, onboard, engage, perform, develop, or depart? As HR leaders, which one of these areas is the most challenging? Okay, I see develop, I see engage, I see engage as well. I see Derek saying engage. I see, yeah, quite a few. Anne, Kasim. Okay, next one, Bin Hui, are all saying engage. So very interesting, yeah. So you're focusing on this, on engage, because what are the tools to help us engage, or what are the techniques we can use to engage? These are all behavioral based areas that maybe doesn't come so instinctively to all of us. So let's kind of zoom into what is this animal called engage and how do we manage it? Yeah. So one of the things that's coming out of research with regards to engagement is the leading cause of disengagement, so opposite of engagement, is the manager. So if you don't get the manager experience right, 70% of the variance in a team as to how they feel engaged is coming from the manager experience. So, it just is in line with the saying that goes, people don't leave the job, they leave the manager. So we've got now one gap or one piece of data that shows us the manager needs help in order to deliver on employee engagement. So what kind of help do we need? First, we go into what is happening in the world, yeah? What are emerging trends in the space of employee engagement? So this example that I'd like to share is with Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook. So she says in her organization, they want to be a strengths-based organization, and they want to make jobs fit around people rather than make people fit around jobs. Wow, very interesting, right? So that means historically, we have roles and we have 10 of the same roles, and we find the humans to sit on these roles and deliver the work. But they're kind of flipping that around to say, let's look at these 10 humans, what they naturally come with, and then we put them to roles that is most suited, which now then puts the onus on the organization or the manager to be really clever on how they spot strengths. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about the evidence behind why this trend is emerging and why managers and organizations are looking more into strengths-based. Obviously, there is returns on it. So some of the statistics that have come out where we looked at some of the best companies when compared to their peer companies, when they receive strengths-based development, they tend to have an increase of performance of up to 18%. They have lower attrition of up to 73%, 23% higher engagement, and better corporate citizenship, feeling of belonging. So all of this does translate to a business ROI, and I will come to that as well. So when we look at engage employees, the bit in green there, the interface there is engage customers. I remember recently just heading up to Mid-Valley to get some clothing, and I went to a store, and the moment you walk in, you get welcome to, okay, I'll bleep out the sound, but welcome to from different corners, like a verbal assault. Everybody wants to welcome you. So you're looking and wow, such a nice, engaged workplace. But the moment you start shopping, you go into your aisle, you get the clothes, you look at items, and then you have questions, right? So you look right, you look left, you got the guy doing his inventory and stocking up, you got someone else talking to another vendor to kind of do some work there. And I'm thinking, doesn't anyone see me? Am I invisible? Like, I need help here as your customer. So engagement is not the same as happiness, because yes, they are happy, you know, they got nice music playing, and some of the staff, while they are the cashier, you can see their heads moving and enjoying the music. So yeah, they seem happy and they also seem satisfied. But an engaged employee is one that will immediately spot a need from the customer and connect with the customer. So engaged employees are slightly different from happy and satisfied employees. Engaged employees are aware that customers have certain needs and wants, and then they want to serve the customer. We've all been to restaurants, and we know when the service staff is engaged, it changes the experience of the service. Yeah. So engaged employees really do translate to benefits to the business. And there is evidence to show that even things like safety at work is impacted when employees are engaged, because engaged employees will look around and say, hey, that's dangerous, it shouldn't be there, we should tell the boss, or we should change this process. So statistics also show us that incidents of safety go down by up to 60%. Incidents of theft go down by about 28%. And incidents of defects also drop by 40%. So some of the bad things get better, and some of the good things get even better with using employee engagement in the workplace. So, okay, now how do we unpack employee engagement? How do we bring about a culture that is engaged? I love this engagement hierarchy triangle because it starts with bottom, what are the basic needs of my team members or those whom I work with? And therefore, how do I answer these questions? So managers are expected to be able to engage and respond intelligently to some of these questions. Employees' basic needs, which is having a clear understanding of what excellent looks like. So if a manager can sort of point or explain or describe what is good performance. When you see a customer looking a bit lost in the aisle, excellence means you don't hesitate to approach the customer and offer support or service. Even if you don't know the answer, that's okay. But that approach means something to the customer. So pointing out little bits like that shows that the manager can guide to what is the kind of behavior that excellence demands. Next is you look at the individual as a whole, as a human being, and say, what does this person come with? What is their worth to the organization? And you're able to articulate, you're able to describe. When I was leading a team of about 60 people in the time that I served in BASF, which is a multinational, it really was a struggle to see each individual and what is unique about them, what is different about them. And that was the time I was asking myself, everything else in life, from your coffee machine to your toaster has a user guide. Now, where's the user guide on human beings? So to remove the guesswork, right? So that's when I discovered strengths-based coaching and strengths-based profiling as a way to really capture people's innate talents. And that's been very helpful for me in order to meet that second level of engagement. And next one is looking at setting people up into a team and giving them a sense of belonging beyond just knowing each other, to truly understand one another. And one of the ways to really lock in team and trust is to offer your uniqueness or your unique talents or strengths to others. And when the team realizes that we can't do this alone, we need each other, the sense of belonging is solidified. And that's why nowadays you hear a lot of conversations around diversity and inclusion, because we can't transact in this world as individuals. We really do need each other in order to do well. And finally, growth, which is about progress. So this is also conversations that a leader needs to have so that they can help the individual have a sense of forward momentum in their career, in their role in the organization, or sometimes even beyond. So yeah, those are some of the engagement hierarchy questions that you need to bear in mind so that you can be equipped to have these conversations with your team members. I know it's a lot, right, for leaders and managers to kind of take on, but this is the nature of the emerging workforce. Okay, let's have a bit of fun. I'm going to ask each of you to have a piece of paper and a pen with you. And I'm going to give you a simple challenge before I proceed to describe some of the remaining slides. So does everyone have a pen and a piece of paper in front of them? All I'll need you to do is small, any piece of paper, like a A4 paper or a Post-it note is fine. Can you just type in the chat, yes, if you're ready? So one pen, one piece of paper. What's going to happen is I am going to reveal a statement, and I would like you to use your dominant hand and quickly replicate that statement, copy, yeah? Whatever that sentence is, copy it. And when you're done, I want you to put the pen down and in your chat very quickly type, I'm done, or okay, done, or something to that effect, so that I can see who are the first few who have completed. So in a second, I'm going to reveal the statement. Is everybody ready to do this activity with me? Okay, so as soon as you see the statement, and I'd like you to copy it with your dominant hand. Ready? Go. So go ahead. I bring the best version of myself to work daily. The moment you're done, just type in the chat, done. I want to see. Wow, Afzal, very fast today. Okay. And, oh, okay, everybody now is, okay, nicely done. Now I want you to do the exact same thing with your non-dominant hand. So switch hands and do the same thing. Ready, go. Again, you can type done once you're done. And Eva, can I get the poll question up?
Yes, Dipanshu, can I assist? Can you assist on this?
Okay. So some of you may still be writing because the non-dominant hand doesn't work as quickly. Afzal, you're a speedy Gonzalez. Well done. Okay, so which hand, if you notice both hands, and you can see the quality of your output with your dominant hand and your non-dominant hand, right? So I'm just asking you, which hand was faster? Can you answer that on the poll question? Go ahead and make your answer. Put your answer. Which hand was faster? So go ahead and answer the poll, yeah? Okay, Niranjani says right, but if you can see the poll, just click on either dominant or non-dominant, yeah? And can I have the response or the answer? I can't seem to see it, Eva. Or you publish the poll results, then we can all see it.
Dipanshu, can you help me on that?
Sure. We are waiting for 3 more responses.
Okay, I think we can go ahead. I have a feeling I know the answer. So
All right. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead and publish it. So I can't, okay, so yes, money on the answer, yeah? So yes, obviously 100% of you said that the dominant hand worked better for you. Why is that? Because muscular, skeletal, neural programming has made this hand or your dominant hand so good at what it does. So what does it mean to the concept of strength? So the conversation we're having about strengths. Strengths means a natural state of thinking, behaving, and doing that we all have. And it arises for us in a dominant way. So we're dominant with certain pathways of thinking as opposed to others. So always remember, certain behaviors come up in if you are easily excitable, you're easily excitable. If you like to talk, you like to talk. And these are more dominant things that come to you more easily. And that kind of sets the stage to what strengths is. So what does it mean in terms of how do we develop or invest in these strengths, whether it's in terms of writing, thinking, feeling, being with people, influencing, all those things, yeah? I want to share with you a simple experiment that was done at the University of Nebraska. So there are two groups in this, whereby the experiment focused on reading ability. So we have the average reader in gray on the left. So before any kind of intervention, their baseline reading was 90 words per minute. And then we had the above average readers who could read 350 words per minute as baseline. So all of them as a whole cohort was sent for reading enhancement classes. So speed reading, frameworks for reading, scanning techniques, and you name it. So a couple of weeks on reading boot camp, and they came back and they measured the results again. So who do you think did better? The above average reader or the average reader? Any guesses? Let me see your, anyone wants to type it in the chat. Which group do you think did better after all the training? Who improved the most? The average, because they got now finally got training. Well, you'll be surprised. So the average readers improved by about 150 words per minute. So yeah, significant, almost double. But the above average readers improved by more than 8 times, which means when we are harnessing something that is already naturally there, and then we layer in training, development, it's going to grow in such a significant way as compared to not having that natural talent there. Now, this doesn't mean, oh, you know, I've spent all my training money wrongly. No, you can't afford not to train because you still want that improvement. But the question is, do you want incremental improvement or significant improvement? So we're looking at strengths so that we can identify the right kind of development opportunities and really turbocharge growth and development in our teams. Okay, let's look at opposite of strengths. Yeah, why is Malaysia, or why is the community we live in always so focused on weakness? We've been trained on it. So the school system, I'm starting with the middle one there. Yeah, we've been educated out of looking at strengths. Imagine this double A, B, C, F is your report card, and you're taking to your father or mother to say, you know, please sign. Where will their eyes go first? Definitely not the double A, right? It'll go into the F or the red marks, and then you're going to get a bit of a, well, I don't know, scolding or some kind of reprimand. And it's a known fact that bad news or bad criticisms or bad news get 6 times more airtime than good news. So whenever you have a bad experience at a holiday or at a restaurant, you're 6 times more likely to repeat that story than when you had a good experience. And the other thing why we say weaknesses or bad things get more airtime is hesitation. You know, we are all very in Asian cultures, we're all very humble. We don't like to talk about our success or our strength. So cultural reasons also contribute to why we are a little bit more focused on what we don't have rather than what we naturally bring. So if we want to now look at strengths, which is the ability to consistently provide near perfect performance on any specific activity, we have to look at how can we use these strengths? What are these strengths? Yeah. So to define it, I have this short video. I'll play it to give you a sense of what it is. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder why you make the choices you do? Why some things come naturally while others don't? Why you are drawn to certain activities and not to others? There's a simple but powerful reason: your talents. When you understand your unique talents, you have the power to harness them, and your whole world can change. We see talent in people around us every day, the patterns of thought, feeling, or behavior that give them a unique edge. Sometimes it may even seem effortless. In fact, our talents are the keys to our innate potential. When we tap into them, we act with more confidence, inspiration, and direction. but we often take our most powerful talents for granted, or we may not even be aware of them. That's why the Clifton Strength.
Okay, so that was a bit more of a plug-in to the tool that I am familiar
ever-
with. But there are principles behind. So the video just now talked about these talents are innately with us. Some of us know it, some of us don't. But it's a way in which we approach the world. It's almost like perceptual filters from which we process information, are drawn to certain activities and interact with each other. So if you're looking, and it's a subset of the School of Positive Psychology, strengths-based organizations. So these are some of the principles that govern an organization or a team that subscribes to strengths. You might be comfortable with it, you might not be comfortable with it, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain each of these principles. Number one is you don't have to become a different person to be happy and successful. This is more an empowerment sort of statement, right? That means in me is all I need to be happy. That's the starting point. And therefore now we go deeper and say, okay, what is in me? So that's principle number one. Principle number two is you don't have to be all things to all people. We come with our unique set of strengths. For other things, we borrow, we pair up. We don't have to twist and turn and try and be everything to everyone. And then at the end of the day, just sit down and, collapse because you try to be Superman or Superwoman. Principle number three is you can't be anything you want to be, but you can be more of who you already are. And this is not about knowledge or skill. This is about behavior. So we can mimic a little bit of behavior here and there, pretend to be, someone who's great at talking, or someone who can empathize, or someone who can make complex things simple or get into spreadsheets. We can maybe mimic some of those behaviors for a short time, but it is energy sapping. And if you keep repeating that process in the long term, there can be consequences to your overall system. So you can only be more of who you already are. So that's the premise, principle number three. And principle number four is you can learn how to be more of who you already are and a better version of yourself. So there's definitely room to show up in a more mature and a more compassionate version of yourself, leaning onto your strengths. So these are the four governing principles behind the concept of a strengths-based organization. Okay, over to you. I want you now to type for me in the chat function 3 strengths that you bring to your role. Whatever language you want to use to describe your strengths, go ahead and type it in the chat. I'm curious. So are you good at solving problems? Are you good at calculating? What do you think are 3 things that you would say are your strengths? Okay, I'm going to take a quick look at the chat function to see what are some of the... I'm going to wait on this. Yeah, I really do want to hear what you consider your 3 strengths. So everyone who's here with me, all 26 of you, go ahead. Okay, thank you. So E, we have passionate towards my job, patience, good listener. Excellent. Afzal, tech guy, OCD, okay. And good at implementing, very nice. Hong Q says analytical, collaborate, solve problems. Shashi, okay, Shashi got so much more, but okay lah, but restrained to say 3. Derek, analytical, problem solving, great listener. Okay, I mean, I'm really happy that you have those 3 words. Bin Hui, storytelling, analytical, focus, very nice. Kiran, patient, empathetic, executor, wonderful. So now we have a nice mix of, at least you have 3 words, but what do these 3 words mean to the next person? What does these 3 words mean in terms of motivations behind it, or the contributions that it brings forward? So there are tools that are out there that can help you. One of the things that I want to kind of close off on is also giving you some, if you're a strengths detective and you want to take your magnifying glass and go and find or spot strengths, here are the 5 things that you can do. Number 1 is look for yearning. What kind of activities does that person, it could be your child, it could be your peer, it could be your spouse, it could be your boss, it could even be your subordinates, anyone in your life, yeah? Observe and see what kind of activities are they naturally drawn to do. That shows yearning. Yearning means the body will pull you in that direction to keep doing the same things. Next one is rapid learning. So like to pick up or learn these things very quickly, faster than most. Some people pick up physics very easily. Some people pick up baking very easily. But the fact that they pick it up easily shows there's something under the hood that fuels that engine. Flow is described as you lose a sense of time. So for me, talking like this to you, complete flow. I have to keep looking at my watch to see, oh, I'm running out of time, because I truly enjoy talking about this sort of this type of topic. Yeah. So flow is you lose a sense of time when you are engaged with that particular task. Glimpses of excellence is when you did that particular activity, you had moments where people came to you and said, wow, Kiran, that was awesome. Or wow, Bin Hui, you really did this better than anyone else. So these are glimpses of excellence. And the last one is satisfaction. So when you did that particular activity and you finished it, you sat back and thought to yourself, oh, when can I do that again? Just like me now thinking, when can I do this talk again? No, I'm just kidding. But it's a deep satisfaction that you yearn to go back to. Yeah. So you can look at this through your children, your family, so that you can then start looking at what tasks can you assign to them, what career path or development path might be suited to them. Now, if you don't trust your ability to spot, don't worry. There are plenty of tools out there in the market, one of which is the Clifton Strengths Finder. So remember earlier I said even a coffee machine or an oven toaster has got user guide. So this is me, Rupa, the user guide. And this in the colors in the center are my top 5 strengths. And on the right hand side, the buttons where it's green, red, and yellow, it shows you press more of the green, you get me engaged. You press more of the red, you get me disengaged. And the triangle is to help be cautious or be aware. This was purely developed out of pain of being a line leader and a manager to over 60 people that I struggled with because I wasn't so clever to be a strength spotter. I'm sure most of you are way better than me, but I let the science do the shortcuts for me through using a tool. So I'm kind of closing off on the session now to leave a bit of time for Q&A. I'd like to leave you with this quote, because we started the topic to say how to be more, how to spot people's strength and let them sparkle. So be your sparkly self, because everyone else is already taken. With that, let me see, what do I have? Yeah, let's move into the Q&A session. So anyone has any questions, or you could type it in the chat, I guess. Eva, what's the best way for us to do Q&A?
Right, so just a reminder, so either you can raise your hand virtually or unmute yourself and ask questions, or if you're a bit shy, you can actually type your questions and we will actually call out your questions and ask Rupa to share her thoughts on this.
Okay.
Or maybe I'll start first. I have a question for Rupa. So based on your experience, what was the most memorable that you actually spot their strength, and how do you actually develop them? Like, what was the situation like?
Oh, okay. I think so many memorable ones, right? I've been a coach for a while, and I've done now close to about 550 over discovery or strengths-based sessions. It's very unique because what I love about it is when everybody starts declaring their strengths, you can really see the diversity in the team. And people who thought they knew each other very well actually now understood each other much better. So that part gives me great satisfaction. I love that aspect of when I do a session with anyone or any group, I love that aspect of the session because you really see the penny drop. And especially women leaders, sometimes they kind of relax at that point to think, yeah, I don't have to be everything to everyone. You can help me with this and you can help me with that. So that starting of team bonding and leaning on to each other in a more scientific way or more structured way happens when you have this kind of data or information. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it must be great to actually see how different your team members are and also their strength and how you can actually contribute in different projects or assignments that actually help the company to also achieve their goals eventually, right?
Yes, and if work doesn't satisfy your expression of strengths, I always tell people, look beyond work. You have your community, you have your family. If you're naturally a good arranger and somehow your work doesn't let you do that, go ahead and do some side hustle or, arrange people's weddings or use your arranger strengths team for the good of humanity in different ways. Yeah, it doesn't have to always be at work.
That's correct. So anyone joining this webinar, feel free to actually unmute yourself if you have questions that you've been eager to ask Rupa. So this is your opportunity now.
Hi, Rupa. I'll ask the question. Can you guys hear me?
Hi,
Yes.
yes. Shashi, is
Okay,
that you?
Sashi here. Yeah, Sashi here.
Okay, yes, Shashi.
Okay. So can it cause disengagement? Meaning that, once you spot strengths, right? And
Mhm.
then, the person knows their strength and they're trying to find ways to use it, but you don't have the opportunity actually, because sometimes work doesn't, allow you the opportunity to use it. Could it go the other way?
It could, but again, it's about slowly moving the needle because my role could be a fixed one and my strengths may not have a chance to see the light of day within my role. And that may make me feel disengaged, like, why am I in this role? But the idea is once you have that, it's the starting point of a conversation to allow the manager to say, okay, let's make some adjustments. Potentially you could sit on a project, or potentially you could mentor this group, or you can take on discretionary work in other areas so that the engagement part starts to creep up. People who cannot use their strengths in their role for a long time, there are effects that can sit in their system, that sense of frustration or detachment. A lot of people go to work just for the sake of the salary and there's no fulfillment. So there's no sparkle, so to speak, right? And that's not what we want. I think we're all good attention HR people or managers who want to give people a chance to shine. And if work doesn't do it, beyond work should be able to help. But anytime you're able to have a conversation with your manager to say, I would like an opportunity in ABC, at least you've registered that interest. And then it's leaving it to the leaders or managers to try and say, okay, how can we meet that expectation for this individual so that we help them cultivate their strengths?
Okay, Rupa, we have a question from Teo Bin Hui. So do you naturally know how to identify strength, or is there a period of interaction first? And followed by another question, or you want to take the first question first?
So Bin Hui, I thought as a strengths coach, I'll be really good at figuring out my own families, right? So I did it for my daughter and I was so wrong. So execution type strengths, how people like to move their body, do things, you can spot. But how the brain works, the thinking patterns, hard to tell. And in terms of how they yearn for relationships, also hard to tell. So that's why I use tools like the Clifton Strengths Finder in order to pull out that result. So a person will go through an online assessment, answer about 150 over questions, and then we get the science-based data that tells us, okay, Bin Hui's 5 strengths are these. Therefore, for each strength, she brings this to the workplace and she needs these aspects or core motivators met in order for her to be an engaged individual. So I hope I answered the first part of your question, Bin Hui.
Right. So, and follow up with the second question. So how do you actually encourage those who feel they have nothing to contribute?
Everybody has something to contribute. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I think strengths are there. It's innate with every human being, but you must be asked to come out and show it. You can't sit in a cave and say, I have my strengths and, that's it. This is the production of the physical world. We got to go out there, interact, transact, and then further hone and develop our strengths so that it comes across mature, selfless, and used for the betterment of society.
No more
Okay,
questions.
what do I have next? I think there's the folks of Budaya would like to know how this session went for you. So kindly scan the QR code.
QR code, correct. So
Yep.
basically, we wanted to find out what do you think of this webinar. So it would be great if you can spare a few minutes just to fill in a short survey so we can improve our webinar in the future. And after the survey, you will actually receive an email that contains a link to this recording. So you can rewatch it later at a time. And we will actually share it with you. So feel free to share it with someone that is interested. So just bear with us for a little bit on this. So if there's no more questions, I think we basically covered all of the sections today. So Rupa, is there anything else that you wanted to have your message before we actually wrap up?
No, just to thank everyone. And if there's further interest to discuss strengths, discover strengths, anything to do with strengths, please feel free. It's a passionate, it's an area of passion for me. So I'm really happy to hear from you or talk to you more about this, simply because it's simplified my life so much that, I can't help but feel it needs to be shared. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Rupa. And also thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you signing in and hope that you learned something from Rupa. And so before we sign off, if you want more valuable tips and tricks, follow us on LinkedIn and learn how to win the hearts and minds of employees while winning your customers. So feel free to also reach out to our friendly team at budaya@leaderonomics.com. If you're interested to find out more, we will see you next time for another webinar.